Mo, can you just tell me how do you feel about the White House Correspondents' Dinner? What do you think of Alex Thompson's commentary afterward? There was like a sort of spattering of applause, but the room wasn't like necessarily on his side about it. What do you think of the downfall of the White House Correspondents' Dinner?
I'm very disappointed. I remember, like you, excuse me, like you, I remember what it was. And what it was spectacle. It was funny. You look forward to the comedian. And the comedian, when it was at its best, took apart everyone in the room. It did not matter which outlet they might have represented, but it was a very, very self deprecating moment. We are so far beyond that. I don't know if we'll ever get back to that. I was very surprised when they remove Amber Ruffin as
Yeah.
the comedian who's going to speak. I think that's a focal point, or was a focal point, regardless of who's in the White House. I was very disappointed when then President Trump and now President Trump did not go to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. I'd like to see American presidents there take some of the ribbing and also give some of the ribbing. But we're at a different time now. So to answer your question, I'm disappointed to what it's become. I don't know what it's going to be going forward. Now, to his remarks, the Axios reporter, yes, that was a missed story. I was of the opinion I don't have the access that other people did in Washington, but I could hear a visceral difference in the voice of Joe Biden. He didn't sound like the same person. And I looked at the decline of my father and I saw some similar elements, but I wasn't around him enough. And then we'd have these moments of lucidity where it didn't seem like it was an issue. We have maybe the State of the Union. So we weren't around him every day. So that definitely was a missed story, but I would broaden it out and say that there are more reasons why there may be a distrust in the media, if only because I think we have a largely, I would have said, my word, ignorant populace. They don't understand the different roles of media. They don't understand the difference between broadcast news and cable news. They don't understand the difference between news and editorial and opinion. And we have a responsibility as journalists to better educate the masses so they know the difference between reading an editorial and an actual news reporter account. And that's part of the reason I think we don't know what we're looking at. We don't know what we're reading and seeing, and oftentimes just disbelieve everything.
Yeah, I think what said about when you were watching President Biden and his decline, because I remember speaking to you about it on my podcast or our podcast. It for a while it really was like a third rail, like that. I felt like we were all touching because the media was so, sort of unable to report what they were seeing. Do you think because I was actually surprised to see that Alex was highlighted as the journalist of the year at the dinner. Do you think there's going to be any sort of sea change going forward? Because trust in the media is at a literal historic low. And I was just,
Yeah.
I don't know, I was surprised to see him honored, and then I was surprised to see his remarks. And Miranda, you can jump into if you feel like it.
I was more concerned that we're in a place right now where reporters, by and large, regardless of who's in the White House, seem reticent to tell exactly what they see because they may lose their access. They may lose their White House press pass. They may lose access to Air Force One to tell these important stories. I don't know the state of President Trump right now. I would like to hear more, not from a cognitive decline standpoint. We just want to hear more about our sitting president. And the mood is right now that if you say the wrong thing, you're going to be kicked out of the White House press corps. So I don't know if we're getting the best reporting that we can get. How do we get back to that? You have to be unafraid. You have to be a truth teller, and you have to be willing to risk being unpopular.
And
Yeah.
jumping on that, you're not even, it's not even about fear of losing access. It's about fear of getting sued.
Yeah.
Fear of losing your job. Look at what happened with CNN. Look at what happened with Megan. You and I were discussing this morning, the producer from 60 Minutes, who had to leave his position because he couldn't do the show the way he felt like it needed to be done because of CBS's fear of getting attacked by the administration. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of just inability to do the job the way it needs to be done.